days since the catastrophic Joburg CBD fire that claimed 76 lives. Some families are yet to identify loved ones after more than 60 have been burned beyond recognition. Now, last night, authorities had to convince some to go to shelters. Many have been sleeping on the street, hoping to salvage what's left of their belongings. In fact, we are giving you an update right now, and our reporter is on the ground on the scene. Pule Letshwiti-Jones, good morning once more. What's the latest update from the city of Joburg?
Well, yes, I spoke to the chairperson for environmental infrastructure, Imran Musa, who actually detailed and highlighted how some of these hijacked buildings have a knock-on effect on the economy of the metro as well, but particularly around hampering the revenue collection process. One would ask, how is that possible? So what he essentially says is that while the SAPS confirms that there's about 600 buildings which are derelict and have been, of course, hijacked, these buildings have connected to electricity and water pipelines, of course, illegally as well, and therefore it means that you cannot collect revenue because of some of the officials being, scared to actually, or in fear to enter some of these buildings. Let me just step aside from shot so my colleague Tamsan Chamani can show you on screen how this building is currently looking like, where you see that there is, of course, water flowing out of that building. It could be as a result of the damaged pipeline infrastructure as well. It is really unsafe, and what this essentially means that this is the reason why this area has been cordoned off by authorities to ensure that nobody goes inside. Just a reminder, this is the Osindiso building, which is located on corner Albert and Delvers Streets in Marshalltown, which was gutted in the early hours of Thursday, claiming about 76 lives as well, and others being injured. We also know that the victims' bodies have been transferred to the Deep Blue Forensic Pathology Services in Soweto and various other pathology services units as well. Families have been encouraged to go and identify some of those who they believe could be their loved ones at the government morgues. We also do know that about over 60 have been burnt beyond recognition as a result of this fire, and of course Health Minister Joe Pahla saying that it means that the state may have to, bury those who have been burnt beyond recognition. But also before that, they will try by all means to try and ensure they implement their DNA and technology, infrastructure and resources to try and link them to some of their family members who would be inquiring to find out about their loved ones during this tragic time. But let's just take a listen to what Imran Musa from the city of Johannesburg, of course, chairperson of environmental infrastructure, had to say earlier on when he spoke to us around the issue of revenue collection being hampered in the city of Johannesburg as a result of these buildings and, of course, illegal connections.
We need fast and effective action soon, and hopefully we can solve some of these problems here with some of the bylaws as well. We need GMPD, we need the police as well to ensure that, some of these areas are also condemned, and we restore Johannesburg to what it should look like. For many other reasons, health reasons, hygienic reasons, and also just as the ambience of the city. Once you develop these buildings and restore these buildings to a state of good habitable conditions and, good infrastructure, I'm sure this should solve much of the problems of revenue. That is why I'm saying that we need partnership with good investors that can, provide good development here in the city of Johannesburg. And by providing this type of development here in the city of Johannesburg, it will also bring income for the city of Johannesburg with employment and alleviating some of the, poverty and the rest of the other social issues in the city of Johannesburg.
Pule, I then have to ask you this. What is Home Affairs saying?
Definitely, the Home Affairs Minister Aaron Motsoaledi has made it quite clear that they will be assisting everyone, whether documented, undocumented, or of course South Africans as well. Maybe let me just pan on my left hand side so my colleague Tammy can show you as well as I continue. And just next opposite to this building, of course, you'd see that there's other shacks that have also been erected here by some of the informal dwellers, and of course others who cannot afford housing in the city of Johannesburg. This area of Marshall Town, William, is quite problematic. So you would know that in Johannesburg alone, there's about a population of about 6 million people, and therefore there's a high influx of people moving into this city, which is the economic hub of the Gauteng province as well. And essentially what this means is that when people move into the city of Johannesburg, they need a lot of housing, but some cannot afford the housing, and therefore you would see them, you know, going into these buildings and trying to get units or small rooms in which they can pay just about 400 Rand to about 1,000 Rand. We were told yesterday with one lady, she was saying that she was paying about 1,000 Rand to someone who would come and collect the money on a monthly basis. So it's sort of like an operation of syndicates as well, who leave no paper trail, because when they collect this money, they don't want the money transferred via EFT or via their banking details. They come and collect it on a monthly basis to ensure that when investigations are underway, like we're currently seeing, they are not caught off guard. So it is a criminal element here at play, which is of course affecting the city of Tshwane. But of course the government social development says that they're looking into this matter. The Department of Home Affairs say they're looking into this matter. Government says they're coming together. The president said it is a wake-up call that the issue of property laws should be revisited in the city of Johannesburg. Let's just take a listen to what Arun Motsoaledi had to say when he spoke on this issue.
Well, look, you are talking about people who have just been in a disaster here, and I'm sure you don't expect us to go with a sledgehammer. Firstly, we'll have to help, yes, in identification, to find the statuses. We have to. Even those who are deceased will be able to find their statuses by taking fingerprints, go and check them in the National Population Register, which will tell us whether they are refugees or they are permanent residents, if they are not South Africans. And then if we don't find anything there, we'll go to the National Immigration Information System database to check if they are asylum seekers or refugee or how they came about. If we don't find them there, we'll go to the visa adjudication system to see if anybody came by a visa. If we don't find them in any of those systems, then it means they are all illegal, and we'll start following the processes.
And Pule, during your walkabout, you had an opportunity to speak to one of the residents who was offered shelter but refused to go in fear of losing their belongings. Please bring us up to speed with that.
Definitely. I spoke to someone who was residing here at this building, as a student as well. He claims to have purchased, a room from this building for about 7,000 from someone who he now says is moved to KwaZulu-Natal, and that this person sold the room to him. But I'm also, once again, going to ask my colleague to show you as I continue to pan. What he's saying is that he cannot move to one of the shelters that have been provided by government because he's got his personal belongings stuck on the 4th floor, and this is where he was residing. He says that he's got his documentation, matric documents, and he had a small informal trading business as well in which he was selling food inside the business. So some of his stoves and equipments are still stuck on the 4th floor, and therefore he's just keeping an eye on this building to see that no one goes inside and subsequently into his room to try and steal the equipment. And he's been sleeping on the street as well. He says that he can't leave this area because he's a bit paranoid that his equipment and of course his belongings, personal belongings, would get stolen. But of course the police have cordoned off this area here with barbed wires and of course with other elements to show that no one can go beyond this point. It's quite a tricky situation in terms of how some of those who want their personal belongings will get them, but this building currently is unsafe and anything can happen if anyone goes inside, and I don't think this is one thing the law enforcement authorities will allow. So it really is quite a mission for those who are trying to make their way inside this building. But of course what we also understand now is that officials from the emergency services unit and of course from the forensic pathology services will be be making their way here to Clues and see if they cannot finalize their investigations in trying to identify whether there's any other deceased body parts of the deceased in this particular building as well. And then from there, we do know that we will be expecting detectives from SAPS who will also then conduct their investigations as well. Let's take a listen to what this young man had to say earlier on when he spoke to us.
So I'm not going to leave because I don't know if when they allowed them, like, the hooligans can go in and start stealing other people's stuff because they were doing it while other people were running out during the fire. So that's what I fear, that, you know, they might go and break in and fetch things that didn't get burned and then, you know, lose everything.
So what are you going to do now that this building has burned down? Are you going to sell your room or are you just going to move out?
Who's going to buy it? Who's going to come and stay here? Nobody's allowed to stay here anymore. So it's a loss for me.
How was it inside? How many people were living inside? How many?
Whoa. My friend, there were a lot. It was a whole nation here, I would say. Because there were other rooms where, and especially our foreign brothers, Malawians and stuff, where they will stay 10, 9 in the room, you know.
Pule, thank you so much for your time. We will check in with you a little later. That's our reporter, Pule Letshwiti-Jones, live to us in